You want me to look at you or the camera?
Either one.
Okay.
Sure.
Right.
We'll have a discussion like this.
People right here.
Fireside chat, as it were. Hello everyone, welcome once again to What Does That Piece Do? Again, not live, recorded from CircleDC 2024, and I am here with Tory Brown. Hi.
Hey Joe, how's it going?
Great, it's great to be here. Are you having a lot of fun?
I'm having so much fun. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I guess you're running a lot of games of Votes for Women, right?
I am working, so my publisher, Kevin at Fort Circle, runs the con, which means I work the con. And so I'm lucky to be able to teach my game 4 different sessions over the course of the convention, and I'm also leading a tour at the Belmont Paul Women's Equality Monument on Capitol Hill. Well, yeah.
Excellent. So that'll be a fun little excursion. Good excuse to stretch the legs if we've been sitting around these couple days.
I think that's right. Just a little something different.
Yeah. Get our steps in. Weather should be nice too.
Weather should be beautiful.
Okay. Perfect.
I actually haven't looked at a weather report, but I'm hoping.
I think it's going to be all right. I think it'll be a perfect day for it.
Good.
So obviously, Votes for Women, it's been out for, over a year now. Won that Charles S. Roberts Award. It's popping up in a lot of articles where people are putting it next to other very popular games like Wingspan. It's good company to the point where people can say, oh, I'm happy to be in the company of Votes for Women because it's so popular. So did you anticipate the success that it would be this popular?
I had no idea. I think Kevin had high hopes that it was a different kind of game that a lot of people would be interested in, but I don't think I ever could have imagined being on the Polygon list of top games ever, and that folks want to talk about it and folks want to play. I thought a lot about the trolls. I thought a lot about the negative reviews and trying to prepare myself for natural as just sort of part of the deal, but the good stuff has been wonderful.
It's outweighed any negativity that might be floating around out there?
1,000%.
Awesome. So it's been a big year for you, obviously just going around promoting the game, and what has that been like being on the junket or whatever?
It's great. It is, it's been all of that time, the podcasts, the different cons, the travel, it is like eating into the time that I would be spending working on a new game design, so there's some trade-offs, but it's been wonderful to be able to sit at tables, to talk with folks, to sit on panels. It's been really nice to have those opportunities and to talk about not just my game, but the sort of meaning behind it and what I hope it will inspire in people.
Okay, awesome. And it's been popular even beyond the US. Kind of a nice problem to have when people said, oh, I don't know all the state abbreviations. Can I have that secret code? Were you anticipating it to be as popular internationally?
So there are a lot of Americans that don't know the state abbreviations. Let's just be clear. I am blown away by the interest overseas, and we see folks on Board Game Geek, on different, on Twitter. We see a ton of people that are like, "Where can I get it?" Donde está el gay? I don't know where. It's foreign language speakers interested in translations. It just never, struck me, or never thought that people would care as much about the women's history movement in America. And I think that it's an interesting undercover topic, but I think also the game mechanics and what people are hearing about, just like what it's like to play the game, seems to be bringing folks into the fold and creating interest. And it's a lovely surprise.
Awesome. And you mentioned it. The idea of maybe making a new game down the road. And did you have to field those questions a lot? We're in this very kind of collector obsessive hobby, looking for the new shiny thing. Were people asking you, what's next? Or were they really just talking about the game at hand?
Oh, it's always what's next. It's like, what have I designed for them lately? It's like I've done this game, and isn't that cool? But everybody, I think, first it's very flattering, right? If no one wanted to play my first game, no one would care about my second, and so it's an indication of people's either faith in me or anticipation of what could come next. And I think this has been such a unique game that what comes, how do you unique again? So every single person asks what's next.
Okay, so what's next?
I don't know.
It's okay. You're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to take the time and revel in this for sure. But it's kind of like I have a friend in the music industry. He said the same thing about when people are reviewing music. you can kind of take it as a compliment. Oh, this album leaves you wanting more. It's like, you can take that as positive. It's like, I want more of you, or more of that kind of thing.
That's
so
right.
it's kind of like, oh, did I not satisfy you?
You don't want to leave them wanting less.
Yes, exactly. It's like, oh, that's enough. You're good. You're done. You can retire now. Yeah.
Enough of you.
Right.
No, it's really nice.
So when you're thinking about designing new games, are you thinking about designing, again, educational games that teach history, or an understanding of a history or a system? What's the priority for you?
I think like the idea of a game like Votes for Women, I think sort of lesser known, undercovered, underappreciated topic that has not just an educational value in classrooms and an understanding of our history, but what really interests me is value of understanding our present and future, and what can inspire, what can we learn from previous social movements and efforts to make this country and this world a more respectful, dignified place, and what gets us closer to that kind of world that we should all be living in. So any game, any topic that I'm reading about or thinking about as a game design, I'm thinking about what is the value it brings to today's politics and to tomorrow's activists.
Okay, so yeah, definitely like in the structure of just what we're living in right now, right, and how it relates to the real world. So is there any topics in particular you think, again, not to say, hey, what's going to be next, but like, is there anything specific that you gravitate towards as a topic that either you wish you or someone would start to design a game around?
I mean, I think the value of social movements and encouraging folks to take part in not just our democracy as voters, but in our democracy as active, engaged citizens, holding politicians to account, pushing the boundaries of what we will provide to each other and for each other. I think that, looking at topics like the New Deal, when the government and all these people really came together to create opportunity, to create art, to create interest, that's really like an amazing time in history that we can learn from, where government did big things because we decided as the government, right, as the government represents us, that it needed to happen. And so I think the environmental movement has some really interesting stories, and when they came together to create the EPA, and there's factions and there's tension internally and there's difficult sort of conflict, but that once we can put some of that aside, we can make big things happen. Ultimately, there's no one politician that's the enemy, it's cynicism. And what are stories from our past that can inspire people to see past cynicism toward, hope and a future that we deserve?
Excellent. And is there any games in particular you've seen on the tables here that are in that realm, or have you had a chance to look around much?
And so I've been sort of stuck on my own table, which is great. It's so wonderful. But the Crosstown Bronx Expressway, the notion of how our decisions about highway construction affect our communities, that we can make new decisions, we can make better. These aren't highways just didn't spring from the earth, all fully built.
They're all man-made. Yeah, exactly.
Right? We can unmake them and make them better. We can make better transportation decisions. I think I care a lot about urban policy as a person who lives in a city and rides a bike and does not want to get creamed by a large SUV.
You and me both, for sure. Been there through that.
So that is I think really an interesting game that I have not had a chance to play, but would really like to.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about that as a war game or a conflict game, because it's about structural violence in a way, right? And just how, the things that we build, like, it's for progress, but they build and they become walls and they divide. Yeah, I think there's a lot to explore in that realm for sure.
Yeah, and at whose expense is progress made,
exactly.
and for whom is progress allowed? And too often those decisions are based on race and class lines, and we're still working mightily to undo that violence and to restore those communities. And you can put it in a game, I love it.
Yeah, there you go. And so thinking of that, then shifting kind of to the political, we're in an election year for America. I mean, Canada's probably not far behind either. Do you have any hopes, fears, or predictions of what might happen in October and beyond?
Yes.
November. November.
Yeah. Hopes and fears. They sit together in a nice little two-seater kind of a thing. I think the fear is that cynicism wins and that people think their vote doesn't matter and that nothing will change because these old men are the same, and that even if they're not the same, that there isn't enough difference between them. I'm afraid that the sort of violence we've seen overseas, that America has been not just complicit in, but a cheerleader for, will continue no matter what happens. But ultimately, I am hopeful that folks see races up and down the ballot. It's not just one office that's being elected, that there are local races, there's school boards, there's state legislatures, there's governors, there's state school superintendents. There are all of these different offices where your vote makes a huge difference because it's a small, geographic area and a small pool of voters. And so even if, the top of the ticket isn't exciting, or it is goddamn awful, that there, people will understand the value of working at their local, voting and working at their local level and get involved.
Yeah, because that's where some of the change can really happen, for positive or for the negative. And you're seeing that too, these little pockets at the municipal levels and school boards and stuff. So it's really important people stay dialed into that, right?
Yeah, and I think the suffrage movement absolutely understood that. A lot of women first won the right to vote for school board candidates because women are mothers and mothers have children, and the schools so okay, let's let them vote for school board. But they also saw the bigger value of talking to their neighbors, of being active in the town square, standing on a soapbox. The small actions of movement building were incredibly powerful and amplified to then 1920 and the ratification of the 19th Amendment. So there's no too small of activism, there's no too small of office to vote
it's
for.
Grassroots for a reason, right? Like it just starts at that level, right?
Yeah, and so, an election year is a great time to get involved, but even next year is also a great time. It's not just elections, it's hearings, it's, you see these videos of school board meetings and, what's happening in our libraries, and our voice really matters on a local level. And so, vote and speak out and talk to your friends and donate money and volunteer and, do all these things.
I know sometimes it's people's baseline definition of democracy. It's like, well, you got to show up and vote, because if you don't vote, you can't complain. And I'd like to think that but just sitting and complaining rather than doing something, like it's more than just voting and then complaining, but getting people activated and doing more.
I think that's right. Everyone's allowed to complain. It's our First Amendment, right? But don't think it will make anything happen, right? If you want things to change, if you want less to complain about, be involved. Talk to your state senator about things you care about. Pay attention to what's happening in your state house, because those decisions matter a lot more, and some really terrible things are happening, and some really great things are happening based on who goes out to vote and who gets elected.
So speaking of, are you doing anything in your regular day-to-day job that's to help promote the cause of democracy in America right now?
Yep, so I work for America's largest labor union. We represent 3.1 million teachers. Teachers every day are doing the work of democracy, educating the citizens and creating new, the new adults eventually that will be a part of our great democracy. And so supporting them in their work and their bargaining and their efforts to have good paying jobs with healthcare and all of the benefits that should be no-brainers but are very hard fought in the United States. And we have an electoral program, and so thinking about the election, we're doing focus groups, so listening to our members about the things they care about, and building out a program to connect with them, to give them the information they need about the different candidates up and down the ballot, talk about things that they care about, and hopefully elect pro-education champions up and down that ballot.
So if you didn't already have a busy year in the past year, you've got a really busy year coming up now, obviously, so it must be pretty exciting, though.
It is. It's very exciting. Cool. My job lets me travel to these different school districts and talk with folks. I do a lot of trainings. I get to not just teach people how to play Votes for Women, but I get to teach people how to talk about democracy and about education. And it's a really nice sort of combo of my passion for these issues, my love of the sound of my own voice, and getting to meet new people. Game design and this sort of democracy work, political activism has been a wonderful sort of reinforcing piece on each other. My curiosity, my understanding of systems, my wanting to engage in conversations about power. Gamers are doing that all the time, and so are politicos, and so it's nice to be able to devote.
Yeah, especially in this city too. We're seeing a lot of folks come together and share those ideas. But I guess last question then, a lot going on with education and democracy and the activities that you're doing right now. But what do you just play for fun lately?
Holotype is a lot of fun. It's a worker placement game about you play as a professor, a grad student, or a research grad digging up dinosaur bones and creating new fossil holotypes, and you sort of publish or perish is essentially the notion of the game.
Publish or perish. Oh, there was another game called Publish or Perish.
Oh, I don't know
right?
that game.
It was called Wene Kasue. It was about excavating Machu Picchu. It was in the Zenobia Award orbit the first time. She went pretty far, and I think it is actually being rebranded. It's by WizKids.
Okay.
And it's being rebranded to Publish or Perish. Woman designer, really great, really smart. She's awesome. But yeah, she's looking at that. If you're into the dinosaur game, check this one out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's great.
Cool.
And of course, like Watergate is always going to have a place on my table. You know, it's fast, it's fun. You get to play Nixon and like screw those journalists, which I think
and do the voice and everything too.
Okay. So Sea Salt and Paper is really fun as like a before and after. I've been trying to do a game night every Friday night in my house. It's me and my husband, so a lot of two-player games.
Cool.
The Star Wars deck builder has been hitting the table a lot. Forest Shuffle, but like scoring Forest Shuffle is a giant pain. It is tough.
I haven't tried that one. Okay, good to know. I'll watch out for that.
All right, you watch out for that.
If someone suggests a relaxing game of Forest Shuffle, I'll get ready to get my math brain on. Okay.
The game is relaxing. The end is not.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hopefully you have some good, fun, relaxing time here afterwards. Again, it's going to be a busy year, but it's really great to talk to you, and thanks so much for coming out.
Thanks for all your love and votes for women. It's really
Excellent.
great.
I love it. I'm terrible at it. I haven't won very often at all, but
That's all right.
maybe I'll get another chance this weekend.
Democracy is hard. You gotta
that's
keep
true.
at it.
That's true, and you feel that for sure, definitely. All right. Well, thank you, and thanks. Say bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.